And our Chip Reid is in our Washington bureau with more on the state of the Trump transition. And Chip, we're going to get to that very revealing New York Times interview in just a minute. But let's begin with the news surrounding Governor Nikki Haley. Mr. Trump tweeted months ago that the people of South Carolina were, quote, embarrassed by her, and now he's chosen her for this top-level job. What's your reaction?
Well, my reaction, Anne-Marie and Vlad, is that if he eliminated everybody he insulted during the campaign from his administration, he'd be in a world of hurt. I mean, he called the generals, all of the generals in the military, an embarrassment to the U.S. military and to the American people. He said he knows more about ISIS than they do. He said they've reduced the military to rubble, and now he's considering a number of generals for very important positions, including General James Mad Dog Mattis. He's probably, we believe, the favorite to be Secretary of Defense. And, of course, he called Mitt Romney a loser, and now he's in the running for Secretary of State. The list goes on and on. So it's not surprising. And, you know, some people give him credit for being able to put the campaign behind him and consider the strongest people, regardless of what he said about them in the past.
Well, certainly some surprises came out of his interview with the New York Times. It seemed as if the president-elect walked back a number of the positions that he had taken during the campaign. You outlined some of them in your story. What stood out the most to you?
What stood out the most to me was not one particular issue. It's how easily he changes his positions on things that he was emphatic about on the campaign trail. For example, Hillary Clinton appointing a special prosecutor. Now, he did give a hint that he was moving in this direction in his 60 Minutes interview with Leslie Stahl last week when he said that the Clintons are good people and they've been through a lot. But now it's very clear he is not going to appoint a special prosecutor, even though it was a line in almost every campaign rally and right to her face in that debate that you saw. Also on climate change, not only did he call it a hoax, not only did he call it a deception planted by the Chinese, he also appointed one of the chief climate change deniers as the head of his EPA transition. Now he says he thinks there is a connection between climate change, meaning warming temperatures, and human activity. That is huge. On torture, he was emphatic on the campaign trail, saying not only was he going to bring back waterboarding, he was going to bring back, quote, a hell of a lot worse than waterboarding. Now, after a single conversation with General James Mattis, who opposes waterboarding and said, hey, if you give me a pack of cigarettes and a couple of beers, I can get more information out of somebody with that than I could out of waterboarding. Now he's casting doubt on his position on waterboarding. So it's really this idea that he can move in and out of positions so easily and just kind of forget what he said on the campaign trail. That's what really sticks out for me.
Chip, let's talk about this possible conflict of interest with the president-elect in the White House. In the interview yesterday, he said, quote, the law is totally on my side. The president can't have a conflict of interest. There is an obscure clause in the U.S. Constitution. It's called the Emoluments Clause that has a lot to do with government officials receiving gifts from anybody, including foreign governments. But there really isn't any specific law. And could he have an out with that?
It's conceivable. You know, hey, I used to be a lawyer, and a lawyer can argue absolutely anything. And obviously, he's listening to lawyers who are arguing that that he can't have a conflict of interest. But, you know, it's not just the law, it's the perception that's really important here. If a president is self-dealing, if a president is out there making money and enhancing his business actively while he's supposedly doing the work for the people of the United States, it's going to look horrible. So, and he has said, you know, in spite of the fact that he believes the law's on his side, he is handing things over to his kids. It's just going to be very interesting to see if he really does that completely, or if he keeps his hands in the business operation.
Yeah, there was in the New York Times, it was reported that when President Obama was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, he checked with his lawyers to see if receiving the prize would somehow conflict with this sort of obscure clause in the Constitution. You're a lawyer, Chip. I first heard about it when Elvis Presley tried to offer Richard Nixon a pair of pearl-handled guns, and Nixon's office said he couldn't take it because of the conflict of interest, but clearly he did a lot of other things. So.
Yeah. I really think the law is almost irrelevant in this case.
Exactly.
What matters is what people think. It's really the appearance that's key here.
Indeed. Flipping back to the cabinet appointments, there's still a lot of job openings. Is there anything close to a timeline? When can we expect to hear about some of these top jobs being filled, especially Secretary of State?
We just don't know. It could be any time. It could be in 10 minutes and it could be in 10 days. We just don't know. It's completely up to Mr. Trump. And as his people keep telling us, you just never know when he's going to make a decision or change his mind.
All right, Chip Reid in Washington for us. We appreciate the time, Chip. Thank you.
My pleasure.